cancer pathways in the Avon, Somerset and Wiltshire area fall under one cancer network, a number of cancer networks across the country, typically across health communities. And the cancer pathways are standardised, the clinicians have all signed up to them, consultants, nurses, patients have been involved in the creation of those. So there aren't inter-organisational or indeed inter-community issues. The whole community and all organisations within it are very signed up to them. So it was a much simpler case of taking that, if you like, that paper pathway and putting it into a visual environment.
What are the benefits for your specific levels of different health professionals?
I think that there are a number of benefits through the journey that Map of Medicine needs to go on. Now, Map of Medicine starts life as an educational resource, as an academic tool, as a place of interest for maybe nurses that are learning, for junior doctors, or maybe for consultants even who aren't particularly familiar with a particular area. They can go in, they can look at one of the 380 or so pathways, they can find information behind those pathways, maybe look at some explicit informations and get some options. The challenge that we set is okay, that's interesting. But what we really want to do is make it essential. And the journey from interesting to essential is interesting. It takes us through to the end. At the moment, we've gone through to the end of what we call proof of concept, which was around the breast pathway. And currently within the community, we are now discussing how we move to a full deployment, probably starting with the remaining cancer tumour sites and other, again, where there is agreed community-wide or maybe one trust specifically runs that pathway, so it's very clear where the accountability lies. But one of the challenges is actually how one ensures that that is embedded into the clinical governance structures within multiple organisations, primary and secondary care, and maybe others as well, and also how you ensure that all the clinicians buy into that. Clinical and administrative localisation needs to ensure that the information used by that clinician, that is desired by that trust as an organisation with its responsibilities and accountabilities, or is desired by a community, perhaps in the form of a network like the Cancer Network, is embedded into the product locally, so that when people go to the map, they know very clearly that they are looking at guidance, if it's just guidance, or actually rules, if I can put them that way. So clinical guidelines that say this is how you need to practice.
It sounds as though the process really is almost as useful as actually the map as a tool itself.
It is. The process of going through the different stages, and we essentially divvied up the project into 5 different phases. The process of going through those stages is very important. What we found in the development of the breast pathway was that, interestingly, although the breast clinicians of all persuasions were very, very keen, loved the visual nature of the tool, loved the information behind it, the fact you could localise, all those sorts of things. They also didn't just want to take the pathway and put it online. When they looked at the Map of Medicine and some of the information behind it, they wanted to sort of do a merger of the two. The various conversations that took place in different forums, the various presentations, promotions, demonstrations and so on that Rachel Hoare, the project manager for the Bristol, North Somerset and South Gloucestershire project did, she raised interest and awareness amongst all other groups. So other groups in primary care, outside of cancer, started to see it, and mostly it was a very, very positive response.
So those are conversations that probably would never have happened if you hadn't have been going through this map process. As a manager or as a commissioner of services, how is the map useful? One
of the things that's happened with our breast pathway is that it's timed. So cancer, for clinical reasons as well as operational or quality standard reasons, is a timed pathway. That can be done on all pathways. That can inform clinicians and managers when they're looking at it, and indeed commissioners, as to, well, how long do these things take? And indeed, if you have localisation, maybe between health communities or between organisations, actually commissioners can actually have a look to see whether the time pathway at one place is better than the time pathway at another, or maybe that actually the flow of the pathway in terms of where services are delivered is better for patients in their community than it is perhaps for patients in another community. So there's a number of operational benefits. There's also the very practical thing, of course, if you actually boil it down to an organisation, that you have an access route. Click here, oh, I ring Fred. And you ring Fred or you ring Joan, and actually you've got that sort of level of information to follow the pathway through. Because it's very visual, it's the sort of thing that people can step through.
How do you want to take this on?
The hope for our deployment next is that we'll first of all roll out to the rest of the cancer tumour sites. Secondly, that we'll roll out to some obvious, again, agreed community-wide pathways such as podiatry, such as diabetes. And then we will gradually, and I think it will be gradually, look to work with increasingly less agreed pathways, integrating the map of medicine into the operational business of both the community and also trusts.
What would you say to people who are where you were a few months ago, deciding whether this is something they should put their time and effort into?
Undoubtedly, map of medicine you need to fit into the overall context. It's not going to solve every problem on the face of the earth, and you need to put it into both an overall organisational, community, clinical strategy, as well perhaps as an IM&T strategy in terms of how you're looking at the focus of where it sits in the priorities. But undoubtedly it ticks the box without really trying, and so why not make it available in terms of itself as an educational, academic, a general reference point. That would seem to be very easy to do and something that all organisations could do tomorrow.